Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, February 26, 2026. Time in Texas about 10 a.m. Some of the things we'll cover today. Congress/Nephilim. HRC on the hot seat today. Iran rejects talks. Israel is hitting Lebanon today, we understand. And what's going on in Cuba and Minnesota fraud. So let's get started. So I have from a Patriot subscriber, Keir Starmer, the leader of the UK, the one who's demonstrated he's a traitor to both the US and the UK, wanting to give Zelle, the Chagos Islands, including a U.S. strategic military base, Diego Garcia, to the CCP. Keir Starmer, my Patriot subscriber says, is in a zuzwag. A new word for me. It's spelled ZUGZWANG. And what that means is he's obliged to move, but it's likely any move he takes is going to be to his disadvantage. I agree. I have a Patriot subscriber who's talking about the Dems versus the American people and implies that the Dems are like the German government before World War II. And I have this from a Patriot subscriber who believes that Russian Oreshniks, we know that's a hyper-speed ICBM, Oreshnik, are soon to fall on countries who are supporting the Ukraine with missiles and technology. And I will say this, often my Patriot subscribers know stuff. And we have this. Okay, very interesting on Stuart Best Substack last night. BEST&TAYLOR did an interview with Barry ROFFMAN. Barry served 10 years in the Navy and 24 in the Coast Guard. His primary job was writing war plans. He's also a Jewish Bible code breaker who brings this out, and the Bible code is based on the first 5 books of the Bible, Torah, and you take the first 5 books of the Bible in Hebrew. There's no spaces between the letters. Then you do a skip, and what comes out is a code. And Barry ROFFMAN rightly believes that the Torah was written by God. And what's coming out now is identification of certain politicians who, according to the Bible code, are Nephilim, reptilian shapeshifters. I believe in the future we should ask politicians, as part of their qualifications, to present DNA to prove that they are fully human. So these individuals are not human, they are Nephilim. According to the Bible code, Maxine Waters, Pritzker, Newsom, Chuck Schumer, JB, and Obama, Mark Milley, Adam Schiff, and Chris Wray, and Harris, Kamala Harris, and also Hakeem Jeffries, to name a few. So that's going on. If you thought the Dems were horned devils, you were pretty accurate. And we have HRC on the hot seat today in a congressional hearing regarding Epstein. I mean, the burning questions are, who did you F? Where did you do it? Oh, and how old were they? And that burning question, is HRC bisexual? So HRC is on the hot seat today. Now, we've been hearing for the past couple of weeks evidence that Epstein was instrumental in setting up the Clinton Foundation. And we do know already that HRC and Bill Clinton are also Nephilim, coming from the Nephilim family Rockefeller. So that's going on. It's not going to be a boring day, is it? We heard late yesterday about some type of shootout near Cuba. A speedboat registered in Florida entered into the exclusive economic zone of Cuba, which extends 12 miles out from land into the ocean, and were within 1 nautical mile of the coastline. The Cuba Coast Guard had received a report. There was like 10 people in a speedboat armed. So the Cuba Coast Guard went out to confront them. The group in the boat opened fire on the Cuba Coast Guard. 4 were killed, 6 were wounded. But identification of who they are didn't come out till several more hours late last night. That this group, according to Cuba, are Cuban nationals who came from Florida to do terrorist acts in Cuba. They were armed. They had in their boat Molotov cocktails and other type terrorist supplies. So that's going on. And oh yes, the U.S. government, we predict sometime today, will come out and give us a report. We have this from TOUSITV today. This morning, Israel is hitting the Iranian proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon. And that the talks in Geneva, Switzerland today, this morning, between the U.S. and Iran rejects everything and then says to the U.S., hey, we want to take a break for several hours and we'll get back to you this afternoon in Geneva. Many believe this is just a pretext for Iran to mount a preemptive hit on Israel. So look for fireworks today. And we have this. So we currently have, over the past month, sent 300 C-17s, those are large military cargo planes, to the Middle East. And we know that war always affects economy. We have this coming out yesterday, that the CME in Chicago, metals traders, gold, silver, platinum plus, suspended all trade, and they suspended all natural gas futures and the options market. And when they will resume trading is unknown. Now, I will remind you, last Thanksgiving, J.P. Morgan moved all of its metals traders and their families from Chicago to Singapore. I submit the financial people have known for several months about an upcoming war situation. We have this. Saudi Arabia yesterday turned their spigots on full to juice up their production of oil. Because if Iran is hit, that's going to give opportunities to other Middle East countries to sell their oil, and definitely expect the price of oil to go up. As I put forth yesterday, a hit on Iran will benefit Russia by increasing the price of oil. And we're hearing this morning Russia has withdrawn all military support for Iran. We've been hearing there were Russians in Iran, there were Russian ships. Well, they're all gone. I submit also we'll see China all gone too, because China is on the brink of a kinetic civil war. And we have this coming out in the last 24 hours that the IRGC has pre-positioned rocket missiles on launchers, and they are ready for a preemptive strike on not only Israel, but also U.S. bases located in the UAE. And we had yesterday that the U.S. moved all Navy ships out of Bahrain out into the sea. And now we have this. Yeah, so yesterday we were hearing the terms that Iran was going to present to the U.S. today in Geneva. That while Iran currently has uranium enriched to 60%, they will take it down to 3.6%, the same as they agreed in 2015. And that they will hold it at this enrichment level for 7 years. The U.S. is pressing for 10 years. And the U.S. wants Iran to ship out 100% of its current enriched uranium. Iran's answer will be no. And we currently have multiple reports that in the Middle East, the U.S. has anywhere from 350 to 500 planes, 2 carriers, 40 refuelers, a Hunter sub, and 700 tons of ammo. I believe the U.S. has pre-positioned military assets, definitely for a hit on Iran. We have this from Deep Dive, an F-16 pilot, John Waters, talking about, and his YouTube site is Afterburn, that we currently have 250 combat U.S. planes, while other sources are pushing that number up to 350 to 500. And the last time we had this massive buildup was before the U.S. hit Iraq. And we also saw, associated with that recent hit on Iran, Operation Midnight Hammer included F-16s in a Wild Weasel mission. Wild Weasel is to take out radars. And it's believed, and I've heard this from multiple military analysts, that once the U.S. begins their hit on Iran, it will be a sustained hit for weeks up to months. So, yes, that's going on. We need to be in prayer for the U.S. military. And we have this. So we've been hearing about almost $200 billion of fraud in one state, Minnesota. And President Trump this week named J.D. Vance to head up an investigation into welfare, Medicaid, Medicare fraud. And the state they're beginning with is Minnesota. Now, it comes out that in December, Congress sent a request, a committee in Congress that was investigating this fraud, sent a request to Minnesota, the governor, Waltz, to bring about several steps to address the issue of fraud in Minnesota. That was early in December. They received back the answer late December, which was the deadline. But it did not meet the requirements of the investigators. Then in January, another request was made to Minnesota governor to bring about legislation in Minnesota to address fraud. Now, this is February. Further steps are being taken by the government. And one of these steps they're taking to force Minnesota into action is that the U.S. government is going to cut off welfare, Medicaid, Medicare money to Minnesota. So we heard yesterday from J.D. Vance and Dr. Oz, who are putting this forth to the American people, that some of the things they're going to be doing to force Minnesota to address fraud. They're going to, it's not just Minnesota, there are other states, but they're beginning to address Minnesota. They're going to stop money to Minnesota in the amount of $259 million per month. And they want Minnesota to put forth legislation to identify scammers. And they also want Medicare investigation by Minnesota into so-called providers of durable medical equipment. This money is also going to be stopped. It can be up to a 6-month period of stopping the money. And they also are requesting information regarding fraud, and they want that information, investigations within 60 days. And they want legislation by Minnesota to prevent, detect, and report fraud. Now, I did see yesterday Minnesota legislators talking about something they're trying to get passed. But at any rate, the U.S. government is taking action. J.D. Vance, and we know Dr. Oz works for Health and Human Services Under Secretary RFK Jr. So the U.S. government is going to stop money to Minnesota for welfare, Medicare, Medicaid for up to 6 months until Minnesota addresses this issue of fraud. And we have this. Oh, yeah. Currently in Geneva, Switzerland, Iran is just taking a break. Hey, we're not going to mount a preemptive strike on Israel and the U.S. bases while we're taking a break. So give us a break, Iran. The U.S. government, the U.S. military can fully anticipate your moves. So that's going on. It's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.